Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold, while I hoard internet cringe. If you've ever played a goblin character who wasn't a little menace to society or a short stack, stop lying and hit like and subscribe. Goblins! We know 'em, we love 'em, or should I say, love absolutely eviscerating them. Or making PCs out of them again and again, I won't judge. Okay, I'll probably judge a little. Whether they're on the gifting or receiving end of a stab wound, goblins are a staple in the fantasy genre. So are rangers. And what's this? Favorite enemy. And what's this? Goblinoids. Yes, like Kanye West and the homeless people he steals clothes from, rangers and goblins have the potential to be natural enemies. After all, it's literally a core mechanic of the ranger to be just a little bit racist. The story I have for you today stars a player who goes into a D&D game after creating the perfect goblin-killing ranger, just as God intended. Only to find that all of the millions of goblins that inhabit the world have suddenly vanished. Well, that either means that they're really good at their job, or there's some DM f***ery going on. And since this is a story on my channel, I bet you can guess which it is. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPG-Horrorstories. Enjoy. This week's story comes to us from Reddit user DragonStrike72 and is titled Goblin War Campaign, now 100% goblin free. Longtime players will basically already get this one. Yeah, it's that guy DMing. The DM called us together for a Goblin War Campaign. He straight up called it that out of the box. This was back during 3.5 and we had a session 0. Not called that at the time, but we still used them. He wanted everyone to be tied into the goblins in some manner to give us some more investment. Characters are as follows: Human Ranger, me, Dwarven Cleric of Moradin, Halfling Rogue, and Elven Wizard. So we all tied in our backgrounds into the story in various ways. My character had grown up on the fringes of goblin territory, becoming a ranger like his father before him. I took point-blank shot and precise shot for my 2 feats. Basically just letting myself be able to shoot into melee without the -4 penalty. I also took favorite enemy, goblins. Note, goblins in 3.5 were an independent species of humanoid, not fae. Simple enough, I get a +2 to hit and damage against goblinoids, and a +2 to track and other such skills against them. Everyone was really amped, and we were talking about how we were going to get our Battle of Helm's Deep. We were ready to go. Halfling came from a village that had been raided and taken over by hobgoblins, and was looking to free her people from the bondage. The Elven Wizard was pretty much going after the goblins because he knew what they would do to the forest to build their war machine. Dwarven Cleric, well, they're pretty much born with a grudge against goblins, so that one was sort of a gimme. It started off fine. We got word of a massive goblin horde numbering in the hundreds of thousands on the march, and coming straight for our kingdom, razing and pillaging the land as they went. We and others were quickly conscripted into a militia, and given our specialized abilities. We were banded together as a group to carry out special attacks against the goblins. Our first mission was to go after the vanguards, who would be coming out ahead of the main horde. This amounted to bandit activities, but with goblins instead of humans. We went out, and it was going quite well. I took point as ranger, sniffing out ambush spots. And we were all doing fairly consistent damage, but not much in the way of crits or fumbles, so it was going about average. Since we all had horses, and I'm a ranger, I suggested that we could train at least my horse to be able to aid in tracking, since horses do have scent as a special ability. The group agreed with the idea, and we took what time we could between missions to work on it. Then at level 3, something changed. Our missions stopped having to do with goblins, and started being more generic adventurer fare. We figured, alright, this is cool. This gives us some other stuff to do and break up the goblin stuff for a while. At first, it was nice. We got away from the same old bad guys, but it started to drag on. to the point where a couple of seasons went by in-game with nothing but just side quests. I finally decided that we should probably get back to the war front, which we were still getting word of going on, and we set out. We were level 6 by this point, and I had my animal companion, a wolf that we had gotten studded leather armor and a saddle for, so that the halfling could ride. She was psyched about the trip attack / stab combo. So I rolled a tracking check to figure out what direction the horde was from us as we rode. Got a 34, I nat 20'd the check, and was informed that there was absolutely no trace of them. I thought the DM was doing a deadpan thing, but no, he was adamant. We could not find them. So, checking our notes, we went by one of the towns that we knew had recently been sacked, and tried again. This time I got a 27 to track 250,000 people marching in formation, with siege engines, mounts, and the like. And again, nothing. Not a trace. Ah yes, the Ranger's favorite enemy. It's a pretty defining part of the Ranger's kit, so why is it such a meme in the community? Well, that's mostly because you have two camps who complain about it online. Ranger players who hate it because they think it's useless and they never get to use it, and DMs who hate it because they think it's super busted. Rangers are supposed to be hunters, right? Specialists. So you can imagine that it's not a good feeling for the DM to essentially say, "No, you can't play the character you want to play. Shoulda played a fighter, nerd." But devil's advocate here. Favorite enemy does kinda put the DM in a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. On one hand, if you don't go out of your way to include your ranger's favorite enemy, they're gonna feel useless. On the other, if you include them too often, the ranger's gonna feel kinda OP, and might even be thinking to themselves, "Did the DM only include these enemies to make me feel useful?" Well, both of these can be solved by simply working out something with the player directly, right? Yeah, but that feels kinda metagamey. It's a catch-22, but it's an understandable one. Personally, I just say to bite the bullet and metagame a little. I doubt any player is gonna be pissed at you for breaking the rules for the sake of making sure that they have fun. Unless that's exactly what they do. And if that's the case, be sure to write about it on Reddit so I have more content for my channel, okay? We got spells to help us out. Nothing. We checked for traces of magic that might be hiding the army's movement. Again, nothing. Across 3 full sessions, we were pulling out every trick we can think of for finding this horde. And just nothing. Meanwhile, we're getting beset by monsters. The rogue was kind of loving it because she was making an incredibly effective use of her sneak attack. That's when the next bit changed. We stopped encountering anything with an anatomy. Seriously. It all started being aberrations, undead oozes. Or, if we could pull a humanoid, they had protection against flank / sneak attack. When I got my next favorite enemy, I decided to test a theory, and took undead. Surprise, surprise, the undead problem suddenly evaporated. Next, we perfected our strategies for fighting oozes, and again, suddenly they are just poof, gone from the world. This is where we finally stopped, and between sessions came to an unanimous decision. Beginning of the next session, we pointed to the Goblin capital on the map, and stated that we were running to sack it. This startled the DM.
"But the horde is to the south of you."
Rogue.
No, we checked south pretty thoroughly.
Wizard.
So we figure there has to be goblins that we can fight in their capital, and we might just be able to draw the enemy back towards us to stop us from breaking their supply lines. Classic military strategy, really.
We went around for several more minutes, detailing how this was our best shot, and the DM was steadily turning a shade of purple. It was the cleric who called an end to it. Thing is, we wouldn't have to do this if you weren't making it impossible to find the main plot of your campaign. We didn't want to go here, but what's our option? I almost started to put in there, but got the mom eye from the rogue. DM finally fessed up. When we had kept spotting ambushes and were acting very strategic from the start, he got scared that we were going to face roll the whole campaign, so he shunted us off. Then apparently the rogue started getting regular sneak attack hits in, and it threw him off even further. Combination of myself and the cleric against undead had him pulling the undead out as well. He finished his rant about stuff, and it was quiet for a moment, when the wizard finally said,
You know, you could have just given the goblins class levels, right?
DM.
Wait, I can what?
End of story. Yeah, you can give your enemies character levels. Who could have guessed it? It's almost as if the rules in the book are nothing compared to the authority leveled by a certain godlike nerd sitting behind a DM screen. It goes beyond that, too. Just because something that's written in the book might not challenge your players, you can use the Uncanny DM ability to activate a superpower that all DMs have. Welcome to the wonderful world of making shit up as you go. Happy to have you. There's a complimentary gift basket waiting for you when you come to our first meeting. Okay, I lied. There's no gift basket. I'm just making shit up as I go. Speaking of getting creative, let's go ahead and put a cap on this episode with this week's Gallery of the Drake. This week's fan art comes from viewer Wojciech Sawicki and depicts the aftermath from my cameo in his webcomic Tales from the Table, which is amazing by the way, and you should definitely go check it out. Link is in the description.
So, did you hear the one about Darkblade the Edgy, an optimized rogue bard multi-class with lucky feet who...
Tell me more. Hey! You! Legolas-looking ass! If you don't keep your grubby, suspiciously well-drawn hands off my cringe, you and your waifu bait friends are going in the neckbeard hole. And that's something that neither of us want. Thank you again, Wojciech, for submitting your art. Be sure to check out his webcomic. It's obvious that he puts a ton of work into his craft, and I'm happy to have him as part of our little community. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon and merchandise links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake.